It's me, and I'm driving. Woo! Again. Driving is really, right now, it seems like the best time for me to make videos. I don't like making videos when I'm driving, not because it's not safe, because I pay more attention to the road than I do to you guys, but that's why I don't like it. I want to pay more attention to you guys than the road. So, don't expect driving videos all the time, because I don't like them. Especially because my steering wheel's here and all that garbage. But anyways, I promised you guys last week that I would tell you about the time that I was on the radio last week. So I am in the Metro Detroit area, and I like country music. And the only radio station that I listen to, if I listen to the radio, is 99.5. It's the country station. I really like their morning radio show, and so I like to listen to that sometimes when I'm driving in the morning, for traffic updates, and just kind of like it's nice to kind of feel like you have people in the car with you that you can respond to and talk with, even if you're talking to yourself, kind of like this here now. So the other day I was driving to work. It was a stressful day. I don't know if I told you guys about the day it took me 2 hours to drive to work, but it was the day that it took me 2 hours to drive to work, and I wanted to die. But on the way to work, the radio was talking about, when asking listeners to call in and talk about how or when either they received or how or when they gave the talk, the birds and the bees talk. So I have a really funny story with the birds and the bees talk, and so I did a talk to text message, and I texted it into the radio station because I don't like talking on the phone while I'm driving. So I texted it in, and I know that sometimes they read text messages on the air, so well, maybe they'll read my story. I thought it was a good story. They actually texted me back, and they were like, bro, can we call you? Can you call us? We want, to record it. So I had to call the radio station, and I shared my story with the radio station, and then it took a good hour before it ended up airing on the radio station. I made a little recording of that, and I put it on my Facebook. Some of you guys have seen it. But so this is the story. It's the story about how I was initially given the birds and the bees talk from my parents. So I'm an 80s baby. If you guys are an 80s baby or even a little bit before that, you are probably familiar with the film, the documentary, The Miracle of Life. Okay? Some of you all have to do is say The Miracle of Life, and you already know where this is going. So I was born in 86. I don't know what year The Miracle of Life came out in, but I just remember I was about 3 or 4 years old. Very, 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 very young. I was not in school yet. I was 3 or 4 years old, and my parents had they recorded it either off the TV or from somebody else. I'm not sure. They had a recording of The Miracle of Life, and they sat me down on the couch, and I watched The Miracle of Life at 3 or 4 years old. Now, I'm a firm believer of treating my children and treating children as tiny adults, but this was The Miracle of Life. The Miracle of Life, for those of you who are not familiar with the Miracle of Life documentary, it was actually really groundbreaking at the time that it came out. So a couple who was trying to get pregnant allowed themselves to be the subjects for this documentary, and I don't know the complete logistics of this, because when I'm going to say what I'm about to say, you're going to be like, but how? What they did was they inserted a camera somehow into this woman's insides, and I'm going to try to be as delicate with my language as possible. They inserted a camera into her insides and recorded everything in bits and pieces from literally the act of conception, you guys, to giving birth. So when it showed, it starts out like, you know, flashing through like scenes and doing a little montage and talking about when two people love each other, blah, 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 or something like that. And it uses shadowy interpretive dancers to do this shadowy interpretive dance that is supposed to represent two people having sex. And I don't recall the way that they did the recording and how the camera was. You don't actually see, like, it's not like porn, okay? You don't see that. But what you do see is inside of the woman when the man ejaculates, okay? I should probably make this NSFW. You see that, and I just, even now as an adult, I can still picture that in my head of this like dark space, because it's black, it's very dark. There's like, you know, some reds and pinks because of the blood and the tissue and everything. But just in the midst of this, in this floating internal space, all of a sudden a magical like, white, you get it, it's ejaculation, you guys, happen. And then the camera is able to follow, again, I should do some research into how they did all this, but you actually get to witness the sperm swimming up, doing their spermy thing, and it talks about like healthy sperm versus unhealthy sperm, how there's like all these sperm swimming around in there, why some succeed and some don't. You see them swimming and you see them dying, and then it shows the sperm meeting the egg. It shows the little egg, and it shows how it gets fertilized. It shows the sperms attacking it and, you know, inseminating it. And then it does, in various time-lapse clips, it shows and talks about the development of the fetus, and it goes through all of that up to the moment when the woman is going to give birth, and they actually show the birth externally. The birth happens externally. So it's a very medical, it's a very scientific, but in a way also too kind of artsy. Again, this is the 80s, guys, okay? So, you know, you take with that what you will. I'm about to attempt to change lanes, and my passenger side rear blinker is out. So I have like a mile to change lanes, and I don't think that's going to happen. I might be taking an alternate drive home today. Anyways, so they show this, and again, I was 4 years old when I saw this, so you can imagine I understood none of it, but I guess I knew where babies came from. And in high school, so then again, you go, and at some point you probably have the Birds and the Bees talk with your parents, and then you go to high school and you take a health class, and you learn about the birds and the bees there as well. You learn about them. So, you know, as the fates would have it, in my 10th grade health class, when it came time to learn about the birds and the bees, guess what movie we watched? If you guessed The Miracle of Life, you would be correct. So, again, 10th grade, you are, how old was I in 10th grade? 15? Yeah, something like that, 15-ish. Everyone's kind of embarrassed and awkward because it's the miracle of life. And again, we're 15 and they're showing ejaculation clouds. And weird interpretive dance. So we go to watch this, and then here I am in the class, and I'm like, oh yeah, guys, I've seen this before. I know it's good. Like, I am the expert on the subject because I remembered it from when I was like 3 or 4. So that's the story of how I got the talk and how it led to me being on the radio. I can't say I am going to do the same for my child, because that's probably a little traumatizing. She's almost 3 right now, so it'd be like me sitting her down right now and watching it. I don't imagine her even having the attention span for that. So she's not going. She'll watch The Miracle of Life, because again, for what it is and for when it was made, I really do think it's a valuable resource. I think it was well done. But it's just funny because it was one of those things like, you don't have a toddler watch The Miracle of Life unless you're my parents, and then you have your toddler watch The Miracle of Life. So that's that story. How did you guys, let me ask you guys, how and when did you get the talk? Hold on. How or when did you get the talk? Or how and when did you give the talk to somebody else? So comment, share these stories with me. Let's laugh. Let's feel awkward and uncomfortable. I just said ejaculation 100,000 times. So, we're all family here. So I'm looking forward to hearing your guys' stories. And I will talk to you all so soon.